Hello, my name is Dr. Ridhima Banerjee, and welcome back to another video. Today we will discuss a solution to a problem which many healthcare businesses face. And if you are working in such a business or you happen to lead one, then I believe you will find today's video useful. The problem that a number of employees and leaders face is that of how to add value to their workplace and continue to do so despite changing circumstances and a volatile economy. And these challenges are largely universal. We find them both in mid level and in larger businesses and across continents and different cultures. So, today we will look at a case study of a large healthcare business and its quality control department. We will look at Mr. John, the manager of the quality control department, and the challenges he faces and how he successfully navigates them and reaches a successful outcome. The healthcare business was doing well with a steady flow of clients. It manufactured probiotics which it distributed across Asia, specifically South and Southeastern and Southwestern Asia. Mr. John has under him around 9 to 10 employees, and the business and his department was doing well. The time came, however, when, due to a recession in the economy, the board decided that it was time for a restructuring of different departments, and Mr. John realized that in due course, one of the departments which would subsequently undergo restructuring would be his, and that would include considering the redundancy of a few of his staff. So, a meeting was arranged in which the board wanted to discuss the challenges that the organization faced. And Mr. John realized after some time that he would need to approach this meeting carefully if he was to achieve an optimal outcome and if he was to retain all his staff. He understood that influencing styles are different for different people, and he realized that the way he influenced others might not necessarily be an effective way to influence the board members. And at this point of the video, I would like you to take out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and write down what you think you would like to do if you were ever in a situation like this. Because the questions that Mr. John needs to consider are essentially three. First, he asks himself, how can he add value to the board members' time and how can he add value to the meeting? Number two, what information or facts or perspective that he could give the board members that would make them rethink or reconsider their decision to restructure his department? And what would be valuable to their discussion? And thirdly, he needs to ask himself, how can he best put across and portray the value that the quality control department has been adding to the organization over the last 3 years? Now, I would like to ask you to pause for a few seconds and think and write down how you would approach the situation. Are there any other questions that you would like to ask? Because, in essence, one of the secrets to influencing others in the workplace is to be able to understand their perspective and be able to gauge the challenges that worry them the most. The challenge that our quality control manager faces are manifold. He must put he must present himself in a professional and business-like way to the board members, and it is essential that he does not let his emotions come across in such a way as to affect the delivery of his presentation. So there is a fine line and a balance to be had, and these are all challenges that can be addressed even before the meeting. And so we find that he assembles data in which he collects material which shows how his department has contributed to the revenue and to the outcome of the organization over the last few years. Now, he needs to also realize that he is addressing a group of people who are stressed, worried, and understandably concerned about the future of the organization. And he realizes that if he does not succeed in this presentation, then he might risk damaging his own reputation as well. And so, having made a careful presentation and preparation, he goes into the meeting. He realizes that he needs to act in a way that is supportive of the decision of the board members. And so he puts across his points in several ways. Number one, he explains to the board members that the quality control team has added great value to the organization over the last 3 years. He explains that the upgrades and advances in his quality control software and team have greatly improved client retention and have in fact contributed to significant client satisfaction. He explains that the recent loss of clients can be attributed to factors other than the performance of his team. And he explains that the plans that he has drawn up for the next 2 years are still viable and that it can be restarted once the economy improves. He explains to the board members that the quality of the services offered by his department saves a considerable amount of money every day and considerably contributes towards client satisfaction. And now let us look at the manner in which Mr. John delivers his presentation. He delivers them in a calm and factual way, and he supports his team. However, he realizes that he cannot let his own fears and worries get in the way of an effective presentation. So, now let us go and consider what is the outcome of all his efforts and the outcome of the meeting. After some weeks, one of the chief board members approaches him and says that after his presentation, they have decided to reconsider and that they will keep on most of his team. Due to the loss of a few clients, it was unfortunately inevitable that the quality control department lost one member due to redundancy. But the majority of his team did stay on, and so did Mr. John. The chief board member explained that his presentation had gone a long way towards influencing the board members' decision. And as we find that after some months, when the economy improved, Mr. John was able to put into practice the plans that he had painstakingly drawn up for the organization. And so we come now to the final part of the video where we realize several essential learning points from today's case study. First, we must realize that Mr. John in this case had an opportunity to influence the board members, and he made the most of this. He realized that the stakes are high and that if he mishandled the presentation, that he would not only damage his hard-earned reputation but also lose most of his team members. And so he had to approach a strategy in which he introduced carefully selected information, in which he had to demonstrate how his department added value to the organization. And he realized that if he approached it in any other way, it might come across as poor judgment or irrelevant to the interests of the board members. And so I want to ask you today, what is the one key learning point that you took away from today's case study? One of the key learning points for me was that I realized that when placed in a situation, especially a difficult one like this, it is vital to understand that each person has their own style of influencing others. However, one mistake many people make is that they believe that what influences them is the same as what influences others. For example, Mr. John might himself have been influenced by an approach which dealt more with a relationship oriented approach and which was a softer, more emotional approach. But he realized that the board members wanted a more sober and factual approach. And so that was the line that he took. And so it is important to realize that as you continue to deal with and manage people, especially if you are in a leadership position, that you understand how each person responds and importantly, what their own individual perspectives are. In many circumstances, you may find that they might not tell you directly or openly, and that you might have to gauge for yourself through their actions or even their expressions. This takes time and practice, but eventually, if you persist, you will find that such an approach is incredibly successful and is useful for long term staff retention. I hope you found today's video helpful. I find that in many circumstances, healthcare businesses struggle with staff retention and challenges in leadership because ours is a largely service oriented industry or sector, and we are heavily dependent on people to be able to run our organizations. I encourage you to think about today's case study and the learning points. And if you feel that Mr. John could have handled it in another even better way, then I look forward to reading your comments. Until next time, thank you and take care.